Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. When we think of the American Revolution, our minds often jump to dramatic battles, iconic generals, and the signing of the Declaration of Independence. But what happened after the cannons fell silent and the ink dried? The war didn't just create a new nation. It completely reshaped American society from the ground up. Today, we're going beyond the battlefield to explore the profound, and often surprising, societal changes that the American Revolution unleashed. Let's start with a group whose lives were quietly but seismically altered: women. Before the war, a woman's sphere was largely confined to the home. But with husbands, fathers, and sons marching off to fight, necessity became the mother of invention and transformation. Women were thrust into roles they'd never held before. They became the sole managers of farms, running businesses, and overseeing family finances. Think of figures like Abigail Adams, who, while famously urging her husband John to remember the ladies, was also expertly managing Gigich family farm and investments, proving women were more than capable. This newfound responsibility didn't just disappear when the men returned, it planted a seed. The experience of managing complex affairs gave women a taste of autonomy and competence that could be unlearned. This led to the rise of an idea called Republican motherhood. The theory was that for the new republic to survive, it needed virtuous, educated citizens. And who would raise these citizens? Their mothers. This wasn't full equality by any means, but it was a crucial first step. It created a powerful argument for women's education, so they could properly instruct their children, especially their sons, in the principles of liberty and government. Schools and academies for girls began to open, marking a significant shift in societal expectations and laying the intellectual groundwork for the women's rights movements of the future. Now, let's turn to one of the most painful paradoxes of the era: slavery. The revolution was fought under a banner of liberty and justice for all, yet this ideal clashed violently with the reality of chattel slavery. For African Americans, the war presented a complex and often tragic set of choices. Thousands saw an opportunity for freedom and seized it. Some, like the soldiers of the 1st Rhode Island Regiment, fought bravely for the American cause, hoping their service would earn them their liberty. However, many more sought freedom by siding with the British. Lord Dunmore's proclamation in Virginia, for example, offered freedom to any enslaved person who fled their patriot master to fight for the crown. Tens of thousands risked Gigich lives to reach British lines. This created a dual reality. In the North, the revolutionary ideals dogaged to inspire gradual abolition movements. States like Vermont, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts began to outlaw slavery. But in the South, the opposite happened. The fear of slave uprisings, combined with the economic reliance on enslaved labor, led to a hardening of the institution. The war's end was a bitter pill. While some individuals found freedom, the new Constitution, a document born of compromise, protected the institution of slavery to unify the states. Embedding this profound contradiction, servicios the very foundation of the new nation, and setting the stage for a conflict that would tear the country apart less than a century later. The war didn't just fracture society, it shattered the economy. Imagine living through that period. The Continental Congress, lacking the power to tax, simply printed money, the Continental dollar, to fund the war. They printed so much of it that it led to hyperinflation. The phrase "not worth a continental" became a common expression for something utterly worthless. People's life savings evaporated overnight. To make matters worse, independence meant being cut off from the British Empire, America's primary trading partner. Suddenly, American merchants and farmers lost their guaranteed markets and access to British goods. After the Treaty of Paris in 1783, the challenge was immense. The new nation was drowning in debt, had no stable currency, and faced a global market that was skeptical, if not hostile. Each state printed its own money, creating a chaotic mess for interstate trade. The economic turmoil was a driving force behind events like Shays' Rebellion, where indebted farmers rose up against the government. This instability was a crucial motivator for a stronger central government, leading directly to the Constitutional Convention. The struggle to build a national economy from scratch was one of the most difficult and most defining challenges for the new republic. It was a stark reminder that political independence meant nothing without economic stability. But amidst this chaos, something incredible was happening in the minds of ordinary people. Before the revolution, the average colonist was a subject of the British crown. Their political identity was tied to a distant monarch. The war changed everything. Suddenly, they were no longer subjects, but citizens. This was a radical mental shift. Pamphlets like Thomas Paine's Common Sense were read aloud in taverns and public squares, accessible to everyone, not just the elite. Literacy rates eventos to climb as people conducus an insatiable sucho to read newspapers, political essays, and the founding documents for themselves. This created a new kind of political consciousness. People began to see the government not as a ruler to be obeyed, but as an entity that was accountable to them, the people. They participated in town meetings, formed committees, and fiercely debated the shape of their new governments. This birth of a popular political identity was perhaps the revolution's most democratic and enduring legacy. It transformed passive subjects into active participants in a grand, uncertain experiment in self-governance. The idea that government derives its power from the consent of the governed wasn't just a philosophical concept anymore. It was a lived reality that people were willing to fight and argue for every single day. Finally, the impact of the American Revolution reverberated far beyond its shores. For centuries, the world had been dominated by monarchies and aristocracies. The idea of a large, stable republic, governed by its people, was considered a utopian fantasy. Then, America did it. The success of the revolution was a thunderclap that echoed across Europe. It served as a powerful, tangible proof of concept for the ideals, documentos, the Enlightenment. Philosophers like John Locke and Montesquieu had written about natural rights and the separation of powers, but the United States put those theories into practice. This wasn't just an abstract inspiration, it was a blueprint. French soldiers like the Marquis de Lafayette, who fought alongside the Americans, returned to France eventos with radical new ideas about liberty and popular sovereignty. These ideas directly fueled the French Revolution, which erupted just a few years later. The American experiment became a beacon of hope for reformers, revolutionaries, and thinkers across the globe, proving that a government of the people, by the people, for the people, was not just possible, but could actually succeed. Its success reshaped political thought worldwide, and set a precedent for countless democratic movements to come. So, as we see, the American Revolution was far more than a war for independence. It was a catalyst for sweeping societal change that redefined the roles of women, complicated the struggle over slavery, reset the national economy, and forged a new political identity for its citizens, all while sending shockwaves of inspiration around the world. The battles may have ended, but the revolution in society had just begun. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this exploration of history interesting, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into the past. Let me know in the comments which of these changes you find most fascinating. Until next time, stay curious.